Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and yeah, the game's been kind of boring lately. No doubt about that. I'm excited for the timeline quest. I kind of goofed up, and this is a bit of a tip that I can give you guys before we get into the rest of the video. As you can see, I maxed out on timeline quest tokens, and that's mainly because I got into the secret or sort of hidden route, but I had already done a lot of my dailies. So as you can see here, it's asking you to do other world battle, acquire reward, and I can't do that until after the reset. I mean, I could do that, but I would have to refresh I would have to refill my rewards, which cost 300 crystals, which is not worth it. So I just want to put this as a PSA out to you guys, because we've never had this kind of quest before. Don't do that. Don't like refresh timeline battle or refresh other world battle or spend crystals just to save, you know, if you've maxed out on timeline quest tokens. There are certain situations, you know, if there was, instead of 5 days left on this event, if there was like 1 hour left on the event, and I knew that I had enough energy to finish and get the CTP, yes. Is the CTP worth 300 crystals to me? Absolutely. Then I would, in that case, I would do it. But again, you have to, that's a very, very specific situation that you're in. And I would need, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 11. So it's actually 11. So I don't even know if I would be able to collect it if there was only 1 hour left. If I was maxed out, if I was here and I was maxed out, I would need an hour and a half, because an hour and a half would be enough for me to generate one more ticket. So the way that I calculated it, I'm only losing, not the way that I calculated, the way that you calculated, I'm only losing 1 energy by waiting until the daily reset. So it's not a very big deal, because it's every hour and a half. So don't stress it too much, don't sweat it too much, but keep grinding. For those of you who have completed all of the tracks and you still don't see this yellow track at the bottom, you have to tier 3 Sam Wilson Captain America. I see a lot of people on Twitter still struggling with this. You have to tier 3 this guy, not Torres, this guy. So yeah, good luck to you there. Anyways, the game has been boring besides timeline quest. There's not really much to do. They didn't add any new content besides timeline quest and world boss, but I have been having fun with the new world boss. I have to say, like, I enjoy fighting old bosses that are more difficult now. I do wish that the gimmicks were a bit more randomized. The fight does feel a little bit repetitive. I mean, I do the fight 5 times a day. I've done the fight now 5 times a day, every single day. So I'm going through it as fast as one can humanly possibly do. Like, I've done it, I'm at 45, so I've done it 45 or 50 times in a row without doing any of the boss. So yeah, I'm definitely, you know, burning myself out as fast as possible, but I still think it's fun. I do just wish it was a little bit more random. I think some of the patterns that the bosses do when they have their sort of like cutscene moments, when Ebony does his attack, when Black Dwarf does his attack, when they do their combo attack, I feel like it could be a little bit random, not even random, but just have like a couple of different patterns. In the same way that Kang has those 3 different stages that he can take you to at the midpoint of the fight. He can take you either to the Apocalypse stage, to the Scarlet Witch stage, or to the Ebony stage, right? Like that level of randomness I enjoy, because it just makes the fights feel a little bit more unique. But anyways, I'm only really having fun with World Boss right now. I want to make a separate video on this later about how I think we need like another PvE game mode. I know we've been getting a lot of PvP game modes lately, but I think we need another game mode that tries to do what Shadowland does, which is give you something to do PvE for your whole roster. I think we need something like this, but, you know, for 2025, right? I don't know exactly what that game mode is, and I think it's probably a good idea if I try to source ideas from other games that have really good PvE content. I know we got Zombie Survival, but yeah, I think, you know, Zombie Survival right now, it's not a bad game mode and the rewards are good, but the way that they've used the stage hazards and the stage restrictions, you're basically just using Doctor Strange every single week. There's a very, very tight list of characters that you use, and I really want to use my whole roster. So I don't think there's anything wrong with Zombie Survival. I think it's fine to have another PvE game mode where there's like a key group of characters that are used there. And, you know, characters that don't get used in ABX, characters that don't get used in other game modes get used there. Not just Doctor Strange. You know, Thor gets used sometimes. Venom gets used sometimes. So it's nice. And it's also very support heavy. So a lot of supports get used. But again, something for the whole roster. So I don't really have too much that I'm excited about now besides World Boss. And it's getting pretty difficult. I'm up here at 36. We cleared it with Thor with this support team with Beta Ray Bill. But I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure I'll be able to climb up to 40, as you can see from the restrictions here. But I don't know that I'll be able to climb too much further than that, because Speed Hero is a pretty... Like, I don't know who is clearing them. I think there are people that are already on 50. They're already on the Universal stages, but which is the next requirement after Speed Hero. But if you look here at the Speed Heroes, I think only my Rogue, and maybe Miles Morales can clear it. But I'm not sure about Miles. Miles does have the advantage of having extra Pierce, but I'm not sure if a Mighty Judgment will be enough. And there's really just no supports. This is the other thing. Like, there's Deadpool Leadership, which is very nice, but there are no Speed Tier 4 supports yet in the hero category. I know that Mystique exists as a villain, 100%. But not as a hero. So, and yeah, Maya Lopez is not really a support, just really a leadership, and I wouldn't tier 4 her just for a leadership. That would be kind of crazy. So I'm hoping to see, I don't know, we'll see what Winter Soldier brings as far as a tier 4 who can maybe clear that stage. Maybe he'll be strong enough on his own, or maybe he'll be strong and he'll have some kind of support. He does have a self-buffing lead, which is a good start, but he'll need to be quite a bit stronger. Or like I said, maybe he'll just be I hope he's not just a support, but, you know, maybe they'll drop a uniform for him as a support tier 4, and then in a couple of months when Thunderbolts come out, they'll drop his PvE uniform, kind of like what they did for Sam Wilson with the zombie uniform, where this was support and this is now his main DPS uniform. So yeah, all that being said, I do want to tier 4 a character. I have a lot of materials. We're back above 33,000 Carbonadium. Almost 34,000 and 25k, 26k Soul of the Faltine. So let's just pull the trigger, baby. And I think we're gonna knock Agent Venom out of the park here this time. I was gonna leave it up to the wheel. I know you guys enjoyed the wheel. I appreciate you guys watching that video and enjoying it. But yeah, we're not gonna leave it up to the wheel this time. I was debating between a bunch of different supports, to be honest with you guys. I was debating between Agent Venom. I was debating between Storm as a mutant support and as an elemental support. And I was actually debating War Machine, which sounds insane, but he's a really good support for Iron Man and other technokinetic allies. Like 30% HP is okay, but then the 40% increased damage to villains, like he's a legit support. That's a legitimate support. It's not like a useless support. So yeah, he's really not bad. I was also considering Mystique as a mutant support, but yeah, it's gonna have to wait there. I think that's basically it for supports. Yeah, I don't think there's really anybody else that's gonna provide support. So yeah, we're doing Agent Venom partially because he's going to buff Venom, which Venom is surprisingly strong. I'll give you guys a little tip if you want to climb these new world bosses. Energy doesn't really work at a certain point. Like, what's crazy is, despite the type advantage, this is actually what's crazy. Despite the type advantage of Blast versus Combat, and despite his uniform effect, Iron Man struggles more on this stage than Venom does. So this team up here, Iron Man can't really finish the stage, or if he finishes it, it's with like 1 second left. And I'm trying to I'm proccing whatever on his combo, you know. But then Venom comes in with the Mighty Rage, and he claps it. He claps it with plenty of time to spare. And they both have penetration, extra Pierce from the Team Up collection. So I think it's an issue of energy just not really carrying its weight. And that's another video we have to talk about, where some of the older CTPs need to be refurbished or like renewed at this point, because they're just lagging behind. So yeah, I think if you want to climb Black Dwarf and Maw, Judgment, Rage, and Destruction are going to be your keys to success. I don't think that it's only Rage and Judgment. I do think Rage and Judgment are going to perform really, really well, but I think Destruction can as well. but I think energy is the one that's really going to lag behind, unfortunately, which kind of leaves it in a weird place, because then like it's kind of the most useless CTP if you think about it. Anywho, let's go ahead and tier 4 Agent Venom. I heard you guys complaining last time. Let's go ahead and level up these gears. I heard you guys complaining last time that I was complaining about the gears and the gear costs, and that I was, you know, I was crazy because the gear costs were actually cheap and not expensive. I don't really know. I don't really know. Some people will take a screenshot. I pressed relay enhance like 5 times and it didn't activate. Some people will take a screenshot and they're like, it's plus 30. I'm dead. And I thought that the range 25, okay, 17, 25, 33. Okay, there we go. I'm sure there's people watching right now that are super happy that we just rolled a 25, 33. I feel like some of you guys, like, I'll be honest with you guys. I feel like some of you guys just want me to suffer, in the sense that you just want me to burn all my resources. And so you're trying to like psychologically trick me into believing that rolling 33 is normal. I know that it's within the range of rolls that you can get. And I know that you can't always get a super cheap tier 4. Like, I understand how RNG works, and sometimes they're cheap and sometimes they're expensive. Like, that second gear was actually pretty cheap, and the first gear was actually pretty expensive, and this last gear looks to be cheap again. So we got 1 expensive gear and 2 cheap gears. So I understand like averages and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's pretty straightforward. If the gear can roll 1 to 40, I think it's 1 to 40, then 20 is the average. So anything above 20 is technically expensive. That was super cheap too. Holy shit. That was 3. That was insanely cheap. So I actually think we got a discount on this one. Let me go ahead and hit tier 4. Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, I think we got a big time. Discount. Yeah. Hey, thanks to all the haters trying to gaslight me, trying to gaslight me into believing that that rolling a 33 is, you know, what does it say? White symbiote? The white symbiote dragon? Hey, yo, what kind of drugs is he on, my dude? I need to find out. So yeah, very strong support here that I just tier 4'd for Venom and for, you know, other symbiotes, especially because I have the artifacts. You got the the increased basic damage to enemies with 25% HP or higher by 20%. That activates for like the majority of the fight, which is nuts. And then you also get the 20% chain hit increase, as well as all of the defensive layers that he gets. So yeah, my lines should be happy as well, because it's better for the tournament that I have him tier 4 now. But if we go ahead and look here, I didn't write down the exact numbers, but I do believe that we were at 33. Oh man, I think we were at like 33.6. And now we are at 27,891. So that cost me under 6,000. Okay, so I saw this as well, and I think this is correct. People were saying if the tier 4 costs me less than 6,000 carbonadium after the advancement, then it's cheap. That I agree with. But the gears can still be expensive if you roll over 20 too many times. I understand the first couple of rolls can't roll above 20 just because of the range. The range on the first couple of rolls is always like 1 to 10. It's always very, very tight. But because it gets more expensive, you can still get unlucky despite the first couple of rolls being low. Again, I don't wanna like, you know, I realize I'm arguing with like 2 or 3 people. I think the majority of people watching are just like, man, cool tier 4. Tell us how he is. And they don't really care about the rolls or like whether it's too expensive or too cheap, and they just want to see the content. I'm getting one guide right now. I understand that. But yeah, I just wanted to, you know, I don't always reply to comments, but I do read them from time to time. So I just wanted to address that. And yeah, let's see what happens with Bucky. And what do you guys think of the newest addition to the crew? I feel like, in addition to everything I've said, it also is worth saying that, or I guess it's worth positing the question to you guys. Does it feel like you're starting to have enough tier 4 materials? I hesitate to say this because I know that I'm a whale, and I know that I buy things here and there that give me like a few hundred carbonadium or whatever, or I buy the world boss thing that buffs your drops by 20% for 14 days. But for those of you that do spend a little bit here and there, are you starting to feel like you have enough tier 4 materials to comfortably tier 4 who you want? Just because I feel like the feeling I had before, maybe like a year ago, and obviously further back than that, was I was always like hoarding my tier 4 materials, hoarding, and I was hoarding because I was scared that a couple of tier 4s would come around and, you know, boom, 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 back to back to back, and I would want to tier 4 them all, and then I would run out of materials and I wouldn't be able to tier 4 a character on the first day or the second day if I really wanted to. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It doesn't feel like that anymore. And maybe it's because I've built up enough of a surplus. Maybe it's because they have dropped so many bad tier 4s and kind of boring tier 4s that we can skip and skip and skip, like Hawkeye and Star-Lord and War Machine, etc., etc., etc. Or maybe it's a combination of those things. Or maybe it's also a combination of the fact that most of the cool characters are tier 4 already. This is something that I've thought about privately, but yeah, I'm sure everyone has at least 1 or 2 characters that they would love to see tier 4, where they're just like, oh man, I would love to see Phil Coulson tier 4. I love S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or whatever. Everyone has their little freak spot. I get it. But just going through the roster, like, I do not give a shit if somebody, like, if Scourge gets tier 4, if Morbius gets tier 4. Like, a lot of these guys, I just could not give a shit. Unless the devs make the character interesting. Right? If they're just a damage dealer, they're not compelling characters, right? Like Vulture, I don't care, bro. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that. There are a lot of characters that I think are cool, and I would tier 4 just because they're cool. But I also think that, you know, we've also tapped a lot, like they, you know, because that's really where the tier 4 system got its legs, was we're gonna choose all of the most popular characters first, and we started with Iron Man. That strategy only works for the first half. Once you get through like the 50% most popular characters, it's kind of downhill from there, you know? Again, unless they do some really cool shit. Anyways, those are my thoughts, guys. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of the newest tier 4 to join the crew. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the content, or the thumbs down if you hated it. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.